I started studying yoga in 1968. I started teaching it in 1969 because my yoga teacher left town and he asked me to take over his class. I didn't really know that much. I started the ashram in 1971. I've lived at least a third of my adult life in India, half the year for 18 years in Nepal. I've traveled in Tibet, in Indonesia, in China, in Thailand, in Japan and Korea, as well as the United States and Europe. I've studied with the foremost lineage of Indian teachers in the contemporary era. I am the only Westerner to hold a Hindu lineage transmission and a Buddhist lineage transmission. I have studied with Sufis, with Zen masters, with Korean Chan teachers, Chan Buddhist teachers. I've studied with Indonesian Sufis. The experience that I just shared with you is consistently the most sacred experience I have ever had. And nothing that I have experienced, in any of the places that I have just suggested to you about compares with it. Last week, I talked to you about the Bhagavad Gita. And the point I wanted to make was that I was hoping you would really think about a significant message in the Bhagavad Gita, which is that life has a will of its own. Our life has a will of its own. It is going to be what it is. And we have no say over that. We have no control. We have no control. And I think that's an important thing to contemplate, at least to think about, because in the West, our whole idea is give us a problem and we can solve it. Which brings to mind for me an old story about Brer Rabbit. And I suppose not too many of you ever heard of Brer Rabbit, did you? Well, Brer Rabbit was kind of a dick. He was a smart-ass rabbit, and he was constantly causing trouble for people. So one day, this farmer who Brer Rabbit had been harassing decided to make a new plan because all his traps weren't working. So the farmer made a human figure out of tar and put it on a log right on Brer Rabbit's way. Just beyond the briar patch that he used to use to escape to. And Brer Rabbit comes along and sees this tar baby, and being a chatty fellow and somewhat arrogant, he starts trying to strike up a conversation with the tar baby. Well, the tar baby, of course, wasn't having any of the conversation because it couldn't talk. But Brer Rabbit decided that tar baby was going to talk to him. And when the tar baby didn't talk to him, Brer Rabbit decided he got mad, and he decided he was going to slap that tar baby upside the head. You probably haven't heard that kind of language very much, but that's upside the head was like a phrase that they use in the place that I grew up, especially relating to getting slapped. in the context of misbehavior. So, Brer Rabbit hits the tar baby, and his hand gets stuck. I just want to be clear, this is a wild divergence from the talk I had planned to give. Hopefully I'll make it back to where I wanted to go. And Brer Rabbit smacked that tar baby and he couldn't get his hand back. So he gets really mad, double mad, and he hits him with the other hand. Well, the upshot, to make it simple, is Brer Rabbit gets all wrapped up in this tar baby and can't get released from it. So often, the problems that we identify and engage become a tar baby for us. And all of our pride about our problem solving in the West, really only takes us ever more increasingly deeper into problem, into story that is fictitious and about which we have no control. I really wanted us to think about the fact that we have no control. And yesterday, in the evening, I did a memorial service for someone who was very dear to me, who passed away a year ago, quite accidentally. She had no control. And further, in passing, well, I'm going to tell you another story now. And the story is about my friend and I. It's a story you've heard before, but it's a story that is important here. A story about a friend of mine and I in India who go every time I am in India to the Ganges River north of Rishikesh, where we do a puja for our ancestors. It's his idea. My ancestors are, hillbillies from Kentucky, so I don't really want to go doing no pujas for them, if you see what I'm saying. But we go and do pujas for the ancestors there, and we wade out into the river up to our belly button. So we're in the river, and we take water in our hands, and we hold it there. And after saying some mantras that are honoring our ancestors, we offer the water into the river for the sake of our ancestors. And I always think that's really a funny thing to be doing because, of course, but there's a message in it. Of course, the water which I took from the river was never my water to offer to the river. And I am in the river halfway up, to my torso. I'm totally in the river's environment and it's just flowing by. And the message of the river is really the flowing of a life force and a stream of creative energy through many incarnations to come to the point where the river, the water that I'm offering to the river was already the river's, it was never mine. The body that I have placed in the river is also equally not mine. And at the end of the day, because we have no control, we leave this body, we discover that this body wasn't mine. It was never mine. This body is not mine. Your body is not yours. And you have no control over that issue. And so, what are you? What are you? That might be important to know, to understand, before you get to the point where you lose the opportunity to contemplate this circumstance. Don't you? Our mind can either lift up our spirit and expose within us an incredible ocean of creative reservoir, of creative energy, or it can bury our spirit in 100 miles of story, which is, was, and always will be bullpucky. And the only control that you have is what rabbit hole your mind's going to go down, or alternatively, will you hold it back from any rabbit hole at all to embrace the light? That's basically our choice. The yogic tradition tells us, and also Buddhism as well, Buddhist yogis tell us we can manage our mind. They suggest we can control it. That's a very advanced state. You can manage your mind and keep your mind in the light, and holding your mind in the light and engaging the energetic mechanism that is your essence, you can discover things about yourself that are unimaginable possibilities. And the reason that we share this sacred experience is to cultivate that capacity that we have for embracing the light and reveal from within us a profound abundance which puts an end to every tension and every heartbreak, and reveals from inside us something truly amazing and beautiful. And I wish that for all of you. That's why I sit here. Namaste.